Hi, so you need to write a narrative essay. And I know that you might be thinking, well, I haven't written a narrative essay before. I don't even know what you're talking about. You have. You've written a narrative before. You've read multiple narratives throughout your life if you've made it this far in your educational career. So don't fret. So, narrative writing is simply storytelling, pure and simple. Now, storytelling can come in two forms, right? So, it can come in the form of fiction writing, and it can come in the form of nonfiction narrative, where it is you're writing an actual real life experience. So, because you guys are being asked to write personal narratives, you're going to have to choose something that you've experienced in your life and write about it, write about the story, all right? So, that's the pure and simple of it. Now, how you do that is a little bit more complicated. And so you have a lot of choices in the way you're going to tell your story. You also have a lot of choices in terms of what your subject matter is. So I highly suggest that you think of something that it doesn't have to be this monumental, like epic adventure that rescued 10 children, from a bus and whatever. It can be something really simple. It can be something that you experience day to day, and it can be as mundane as something that is a part of your daily routine. So I want you guys to think about, in terms of writing something, especially as short as what I'm asking you all to write, you don't have to choose a grand adventure. It can be very, very, it can be meaningful, but it can be something that is a very much more small and maybe less significant moment in your life. All right, because sometimes you can find much more meaning and beauty in those little moments. So think about the way that you're going to tell the story. And when I say story, that should like automatically throw you back into, study of literature, and it should cause you to think about plot diagramming, and it should cause you to think about all of the sorts of things that are included in a really strong story. So if we're thinking about plot diagrams, then I do want you to consider we start with the exposition of a story. You need to tell me, give me the setting, give me descriptions of the characters, help to set the stage for what your story is what's going to happen in your story. Keep in mind, you might not need to think in terms of plot diagram. Some of you guys might just be able to sit down and, brainstorm, do some mind mapping in terms of the story you want to tell, and you'll know from the very beginning, these are all the events that I need to include, and, from A to Z, you're going to write it chronologically, and you'll be good to go. Others of you might want to play around with time. You might want to, start at one moment in your memory or in your, life, and then, flash back to something else that's happened in order to kind of, add some more information and kind of give us some further understanding about maybe a relationship that you're in and that you're writing about. So you can play around with the organization of this paper in a way that you will not be able to with other pieces. So I hope you'll find that enjoyable. I hope you'll, play around with that. Keep in mind that the way you tell your story is just as important as, the story itself. So think about moments where you can introduce vivid description and sensory details. Slow me down as a reader. Find, if you're writing about your first car and how, you and your dad were rebuilding the engine or something, and this is, your lasting memory of him, for instance, what are the tools that you guys used? What did you put together beforehand in order to, kind of feel like you were ready to be able to, rebuild an engine? Find little details of the setting that, I might not even think about as a reader, but that were important to you as a writer. I have some example essays included in the module for you, so I hope that you can take a look at those. They're in the book, as well as linked examples as well. You'll notice that some of the sensory images and the sensory details dealing with just, sight and smell and touch, they're very vivid and rich in description. So, you might find it beneficial to, write your entire story, get your ideas down, get the basic storyline down, and then go back in and think about, and if this is, recursive writing, so we're going to go back in, loop back into your, first draft, and find places and find moments where you can, introduce more detail in order to kind of again, help the reader to get a sense of time and place, and to maybe elicit a sort of reaction from your reader. Because again, that is what wonderful writing does. I want to be able to read your pieces and leave having felt something, like have a strong reaction, have an emotion where I absolutely couldn't stand one of your characters and they made me so angry for a moment in my life. Because if you can do that, if you can cause a reader to feel something, then your writing is tugging at something, right? So as you're writing, think about those moments where you can introduce again those sorts of interactions that happen between people. Help me to see if you're writing about you and your brother or sister, what is it that's so central to your relationship that I would have to understand before I understand how you guys interact and why your relationship is what it is. So what you're going to be asked to do is to write something very personal. So keep in mind, anything that you write for me, be willing to share it with more than just your instructor. I'm going to be reading it, I'm going to be grading it, but I would like for you all to be comfortable with sharing these pieces in a peer setting, so peer revision sorts of settings. Because the class this semester, because everything is fully online, we're not going to be able to do as much of the peer-to-peer reader responses that I would normally have you do in class, and for that I'm really very sorry. I know that we're all juggling a lot of different things right now. It's these are just unprecedented times. So with that being said, I really hope that you guys can get something out of this writing activity, and that you again find a way to create meaning, and find something that you're passionate about, in order to write your narrative essay. Refer to the chapter in the book. Make sure that you guys are consistent in terms of your verb tense, in terms of your grammar. Make sure that you have, you're submitting a very polished piece of writing to me for your final essay. And again, I am available via email. We will have our Zoom meetup as well this semester, so please be on the lookout for my invite for that. And other than that, be in touch with me, and I look forward to whatever you guys have to share with me through your narrative essays. Till next time.